What's up, MFN community? This is Trevor Wicken, creator of the RISE movement system and the MS Gym. I partnered up with Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, Fitness Learning Systems, and the Medical Fitness Network to bring you this weekly series on using the power of movement and exercise with your Alzheimer's clients. Now, last week we went over the neurological warm-up, which is a super important series of exercises and movement patterns to really get the motor part and the sensory part of the brain fired up. It gets the Alzheimer's client connected back in with their brain, their body, and you as their coach. So this week, what we're going to be working on is a tilt and bridge. So I like this series or this exercise and the way this is put together because it works on sequencing with the Alzheimer's client. It works on core activation, hip activation, adductor pelvic floor activation, which is really important because we want to put those neurological patterns back in the brain that's going to help restore, restore and preserve, there you go, function in that Alzheimer's client when they're walking and moving about their day, because sometimes they can't really remember what they're doing. So we got to have good muscle memory to keep them functional. So let's get started. Welcome back. So this tilt and bridge exercise is super important because there's multiple things and multiple muscle groups that have to be thought about and activated in order to produce or in order to perform this exercise correctly. So with the Alzheimer's client, it's super important because they're having to think through their body and connect in with their body at different points in order to do this exercise properly. Plus, you can have them verbally go through and really talk about what they're doing, because then that connects them into their body, and it also works on sequencing patterns in the brain of something that's probably completely foreign to them, which Alzheimer's research has said that with new activity and new patterning and new cognitive activities and fitness stuff like this, it's going to help preserve some of those memory cells in the brain, all right? So you can find these in your facility. If you don't have these in your facility and working with Alzheimer's clients, get some. These are these TheraBand kind of smushy balls. You can even go to Walmart and just get some kids' beach balls. It's coming up on summertime, so grab one, go get one. You can also use the Miracle Ball, a foam roller, or fold up a towel or something like that and put it in between the knees. So here's what we do. So we're rocking this down. Ball goes in between the legs because you're going to activate those adductors. Now make sure that your client has their feet pointed straight ahead. And when they do this move, make sure that they're not gripping into their toes. A lot of time with Alzheimer's, then people, just like with MS or Parkinson's, start to really shift into those toes and get that plantar flexion dominance. You got to make sure they're out of their toes. So you want them to wiggle their toes before they do anything. So the key thing on this is get them set up well. Go through the preload activation, make sure they're aware of everything that's going on, okay? So this is how I would instruct them. So go ahead and put your feet forward, find the balls of your feet. I want you to lightly push into that ball with your inner thigh. You want to make sure they're not rotating over the top and going into an internal rotation of the hips. You're just pressing straight into the ball gently. They don't need to crush it and try to bust the ball up, right? So then what I tell them is relax your shoulders, pull that belly button down, and then you're ready to go. So that's always how they're going to set up. So you want feet straight, balls of your feet, squeeze that ball slightly. Think about pulling that belly button down, relaxing the shoulders. Now here's where the sequencing comes in. You're going to count. So one, what you're going to do is you're going to roll your hips back so you feel the small of your back right here. You feel the small of your back push into the floor. Then I want you to push through your heels, lift your hips up just about halfway, squeeze your glutes. I always tell people, imagine they have a magic marker in between those cheeks, squeeze the marker, okay? So you're squeezing that marker, hold those abs in, feel the ball, and then you're going to come back down nice and slow. Pause, keep those abs in, let your hips roll forward about halfway. And you, as their coach, have to guide them that they don't drop into an anterior pelvic tilt, okay? You want to keep them right at spinal neutral, and then you go back to one. One, push the low back into the floor. Two, push through your heels and the balls of your feet to lift your hips. Three, squeeze those glutes, squeeze that marker between your glutes. Four, return back down to the floor, okay? Then you go through it again. One, push your low back into the floor, pull your abs in, squeeze the ball. Two, push through your heels, come up. Three, squeeze your glutes, squeeze that marker, make sure your abs are pulled down toward, or your belly button's pulled down towards the mat. Four, drop down towards the mat, okay? Let's go through one more of those. Okay, so client, lightly squeeze the ball, pull those abs down, make sure you can wiggle your toes and you're in your heels. So 1, push the small of your back or low back into the floor, hold those abs in. 2, push the hips up through the heels, think about using your glutes and not your hamstrings. 3, squeeze those glutes, squeeze that marker. And 4, come back down nice and slow, okay? All right, so what I want is you want to do probably about 10 repetitions of those. 10 reps, 1 to 2 sets, see how they're feeling. Now, if they start to get cramping in their hamstrings, make sure they're pushing through their heels and not their toes. If they start to feel it in their low back, that means that they are not using their glutes. So you've got to make sure they're in that pelvic tilt. If you need to get in there and push and help them guide their pelvis back and then push the hips up, help them do that, okay? So this is a great exercise for glutes, pelvic floor, adductor, and deep core, all right? Super important for walking, super important for function. So practice this with your clients, do the neurological warm-up first, rock this out. They're gonna feel a lot of stuff firing up and it's gonna start working those parts of the brain that they don't normally work. So we'll see you guys next week.